Welcome back to another Giant Monsters Monday here on Outside the Box Reviews, and today we are taking a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Monsterarts Godzilla Jr. and Destroyah. These characters both debuted in the 1995 film Godzilla vs. Destroyah, the last of the Heisei series, and we have two extremes. We have a very tiny Godzilla figure and we have a very large one. I know both these guys have a lot to cover on them, so let's jump right in. And we're going to start off by looking at Godzilla Jr. And Jr. does come with an accessory. He comes with two small little helicopter pieces. And these are interesting. I don't think the execution on these was perfect, but what you get are two little black bases, these little round pieces with a hole in the middle. And then you get what amounts to a bendy wire that will just plug into the center of that stand, which then the helicopter itself will peg into the top of. The helicopter itself is very tiny, but decently detailed. You can make out the windows on it, the little skids, the landing gear, whatever you call it. Little rear rotor back here. Just very, very tiny. Now you can see on top here, we have a clear translucent circle with some blades painted on it, supposed to mimic the idea of a flying helicopter, supposed to give some motion there, which is pretty cool looking. But for each helicopter, we also get an additional set of stationary blades. These are just plastic, no in-between piece here, very fragile feeling actually. So we'd take the helicopter, we'd unpeg the rotor from the top, and then we'd peg in this new one here, and now you could have a not moving helicopter, or one with just this if you prefer these blades over the translucent disc. Not bad, they don't spin easily or anything, I wouldn't expect them to, but it's a decent little accessory I guess. We also need small little things to go with our Godzilla figures, I feel, to go and scale with them. But this thing, I don't know, I would have rather had a military vehicle than this. And this thing has a weird translucency to it. I just realized that. It almost looks like you could see through the entire thing. You can. It's a translucent helicopter. I thought it was silver, but it's a little weird that it's translucent. But then once you have these on the stand, of course, you could bend the wire however you want it, get it in a position. And the black piece makes it look fairly invisible. Not really, but good enough, I guess. I don't know. These things, it's a nice attempt, but I don't think the execution was perfect on him. As for Junior himself, I think they did a decent job on him. He's pretty cool looking. He's a nice green color, and he's definitely short like he was in the film. The head's pretty movie accurate. He has his kind of orangey red eyes going on. The scales over top of his head, the kind of longer snout to him. Of course, you can open up the mouth, and we have the tongue detailed in there, and the double rows of teeth, just like Daddy. Coming on the back, we have some very tiny spines down his backside. His tail's decently lengthed. It's nothing too long. He's got his arms coming out here to the front. Pretty basic, everything here. It's just like a Godzilla shrunken down. He does kind of have this hunched forward look to him, a little more so than Godzilla, something we'd see more in the Millennium series. Then he has also the back bent joint to the ankle here at the foot that comes down into the toes, which are decently sculpted. There's no complaints I really have on this figure. There are some gaps in here, but I've kind of come to expect that from the line, especially these older figures. But I don't really have anything I really super dislike about this figure. He's very simple. He's inexpensive compared to the other ones, though not quite as inexpensive as he should be, but not a bad little figure for rounding out a Godzilla vs. Destroyah display. Just not a whole lot to say about him. And this is one of two young Godzillas we've gotten over the course of the Monsterarts line. We also got Little Godzilla, which was the step before this, which was like the Pillsbury Doughboy mixed with radiation. It's kind of stupid looking, but probably get him eventually. For articulation, I already said that the jaw will open and close. We have a couple ball joints in the neck, one just at the base of the head, one a little further down, and then one at the base of the neck itself. These kind of do leave some gaps when you move it, so you have to kind of mess with it to get it to look realistic, which is unfortunate. But side to side is good as well. The long neck really helps with some cool poses out of him. He has a ball joint at the upper torso here, as well as the lower one going into this kind of diapery shaped bottom section, but he has some good kind of crunching ability there in the middle. You could also rotate him a little bit. Ball joint at the shoulder, so you can go in and out just a little bit, forward and back. We can rotate at the upper bicep, could bend at 2 points at the elbow, and then we have a ball joint at the wrist. The legs are on ball joints, they can go in and out. We can see there is a little piece of plastic in there. It's supposed to bridge the gap, but it doesn't really hide much in there. Also go forward and back, kind of like a V cut because of the way the crotch is shaped. You can bend just a little bit at the knee. We could rotate a little bit there as well. Do a little more rotation down here at the back bent ankle. Swivel that side to side, forward and back. And then a ball joint at the foot, which gives us the most range out of the lower body here. The tail is what we've expected with most of these figures. It's really nicely segmented, really nice and tight, so you can pose it very well on this figure. I like this one a lot. No rotating joints that I have on here. Just very nicely done. But of course, this back section here, this tip of the tail, is one solid piece. No more articulation back in there. Next up, we have Destroyer, or Destroyah. I've called him Destroyah for a long time now, but I found out in Japan he is Destroyer. And they just spelled his name weird when they brought him to America because they realized Destroyer was going to be a hard word to copyright. But this thing is the epitome of an evil looking kaiju. This thing looks like the devil. It's very, very cool looking. He has no accessories, so let's jump right into the sculpt. Here on the head, he has the very dark eyes. There were yellow eyes in the film and on the box, but these are dark, maybe a translucent yellow, but they don't really pick up light too well. What I think they were doing is because this horn here is also translucent except for the tip, I think they were actually attempting to do some kind of light piping on it. However, that doesn't really work. But the paint and the sculpt all over this face is nuts. I love all the detail they put into the kind of crab-like shell around his head. I love the red highlights with the dark shading in between. His teeth look vicious. He's got some sticking out like everywhere here. Go open his mouth and see his tongue, his extra teeth in there, the side teeth. Very, very gruesome looking. Very cool looking kaiju. He has some big freaking segmented wings back here. A little better made than King Ghidorah. They don't feel nearly as fragile. I'll get into them with articulation, but they are a pain to line up. You can see mine are overlapping and both sides are different on my figure because I just cannot get them to match. But there's some great kind of webbing in here in the wings. The actual bone parts of it that look a little tougher. Just a very, very cool looking figure. Love the way the wings are sculpted on here. Coming onto the body, on the shoulders, we have the big kind of horns sticking out, which look really sinister. The kind of flowery looking piece on the chest, which I believe was supposed to be a beam weapon that never got animated into the movie. I believe it's in the deleted scenes of the film if you get the Japanese DVD. We have his arms. They're a little stubby, but they have the 3 claws at the end, looking pretty cool. Big crab looking crotch going on here. I like that there's the harder shell pieces and the kind of the more flexible pieces sculpted in the joints. I love the knees and the feet on this guy because it just looks so crustacean-y and just gross with the spikes sticking out. And his big clawed feet just look amazing. On the bottom of the feet, they actually are detailed as well. No peg holes, no copyright info, just straight up monster detail there. Flip him around, he has some really nice red paint here down his spines. It's a very bright red with some black in between. We can see the back side of the wings there. He also has his little extra wings down here, the little teeny tiny little ones. And they're just as well detailed as the big ones. Then he kind of fans out down here and he gets his tail come down. It's the end with the clawed fork at the back, making him look even more devilish. It's very, very nice. I love the red and black and dark colored color scheme on this guy. I just think it makes him look sinister and very, very vicious. Really dig this sculpt. And for articulation, Destroyah is jam-packed. Of course, we have the articulated mouth that opens and closes. The head has several different ball joints in it. We see a couple appear at the top of the neck and then some more down here towards the body, giving him an excellent range up and down, side to side, rotate, all that good stuff we can get out of the head. Now the shoulders are a very complex joint here because we have a big ball jointed shoulder pauldron here, which moves the arm and all that stuff, but also moves the wing because the wings are connected into the shoulder here. The wing itself, the primary wing, has a big joint up here at the top of the shoulder. Now just like any of these Monsterarts figures, we don't want to put extra stress on here, so we're going to move it from right up here as close to the joint as we can, but we have a ball joint here. Then we have a ball joint midway through the wing. We can move in and out. And then all these little panels can kind of be flexed and moved on their own little ball joints, so you can align them to get them how you want them on your Destroyah. And these panels actually interlock. There are grooves in these bone sections of the wing that will let you peg in the next piece and kind of keep a nice continuous flow going on. But like I said, very difficult to get these to move correctly, and I'm really afraid of breaking it. Back here, the tiny wing wings also attach into the same kind of ball joint mechanism on the shoulder pauldron itself too. So like I said, very busy shoulders. Then finally we get to the arm, has a ball joint connecting to the shoulder pauldron. Can hinge and rotate here at the elbow. We can rotate with more of a Hot Toy style ball joint peg here at the wrist. And then we actually have ball jointed fingers on this guy, so we can move them and open him up in a gripping pose, which is very, very cool. Then we have a ball jointed mid-torso, which we don't get much out of except for a little side-to-side motion, but he has so much stuff going on, I really don't care that the waist doesn't move much. We got a double ball joint at the hip, so we can go in and out really well, actually, for the size of this, and out to the side, forward and back. A little bit of a hinge here at the knee, a little bit of rotation, and then a ball joint at the foot. They of course have these little panels moving with it to hide the articulation, which is fantastic. Very nice feet there. Then we have the tail, which does come uninstalled from the figure in the box, so you do have to plug this into his butt, but it has some great motion, a lot of ball joints going all the way through it. Once again, very stiff ball joints going all the way down to the tip. Then here at the very end, he has what I think are some little ball joints here at the tip of the claw. You can get a little motion out of it, but not much, and I'm not going to mess with it too badly. So here we have the nearly complete lineup from Godzilla vs. Destroyah. We have Destroyah himself, Godzilla Jr., and the Burning Godzilla. The only piece really missing out of this is the Destroyah Evolution set, which I have yet to pick up, but it consists of Destroyah's earlier forms. This is what they call the perfect form of Destroyah. But we can see they're in really good scale. Destroyah towers a bit over Burning Godzilla, and they all really tower over Godzilla Jr., which is exactly how it should be. As for these two figures, Destroyah definitely gets the cult classic status. A beautiful figure, very well done. I really like him. I'm gonna give the same to Godzilla Jr., but he's barely there. He's definitely a little wimpier in the department. He's a little too much money for what he is. He's so small, and like I said, there's not really much to say about him. He's pretty basic, and the helicopters don't really help him out much. But if you want to complete your Godzilla set, he is an important piece. And we are getting his next form soon. We're getting the full-grown adult version of him coming this summer. So you want to keep your Godzilla evolution going on, he is an important piece. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, it's been another Outside the Box Reviews Giant Monsters Monday. Sayonara.